All right, here's a very basic overview of Scene Builder. In IntelliJ, when you right-click on an FXML file, at the bottom, there's an option to open in Scene Builder. If that doesn't work for you, you need to set the location of Scene Builder in the settings within languages and frameworks, JavaFX. The path is usually program files, Scene Builder, exe. If you can't find it there, just search for it in the Windows search box or something, but it should open up in Scene Builder like this. And you need to orient yourself to some of the panels. This is the inspector panel. It's got all kinds of settings that you can set on your controls. This is a button, so there is a on action setting. That's going to be the method that is called when the button is clicked. Down at the bottom is the document panel on the left, and that is where you can choose other controls. This has a label. I've set the FX ID on it because I use that in code. At the bottom left, it is important that the controller class is set to whichever file you want to handle this FXML file. Usually what you're going to do is add one container to your FXML file, for at least a basic one, and then several controls. For information to the user, like a prompt, you would do a label. For getting input from a user, you would do a text field, if it's a small amount. And then since graphical user interface programs are event-based, you would have a button to click to trigger the code to happen. Any controls that you want to reference in code need an FX ID set on them. So since I would need to get the input that the user typed into this text field, I would need to set an FX ID on that. The label I don't need to interact with in code, so I don't need to set an FX ID on it. I'm just going to set the text property of it to let the user know what I want them to do. So if I want to modify this program to be a total meal price calculator where the user enters a meal price and then they click a button to calculate the total with tax and tip or something, then I could modify the properties of the controls. Notice there's grid lines to help you line everything up. You can also use the alignment features within the inspector. I'm going to make sure that I have a descriptive name for what happens when the user clicks this button. Calc total would be a more meaningful name. Now, when I save this, it should update the code in the FXML file in IntelliJ. Right now, you see it's all the old stuff. But as soon as I hit save, if it is linked together properly, then it changes that text there. Now, calc total did not exist in my controller, but IntelliJ will add that for me. So that just made a header, and it has the action event as the parameter. That is so that it will go there when that button is clicked. The action event is gone from the say hello method header. So that is just kind of sitting there. It probably needs to be deleted. Label output is no longer actually the name of my label, so I'm going to have to modify that as well. The name of, or actually label output is still there, but I could make it a more descriptive name by calling it label total price, for example. That warned me that that was not in my controller. Right, so you see it just turned gray, and it's never assigned to anything because in here it is up at the top, label total price. So I need to have that word exactly be the name of my label object in my controller. You can see right now if I run this, it's never going to say hello anymore because that method is not handling the click event and there is no label called label output. So I need to make those changes so that my controller matches up with my FXML. Prefix LBL is just a convention that some people like to use for a label. That way, if you forget what type of object it is, you can know just from the name. All right, now I've matched up the name of the label, but this still isn't going to work because that method is not set up to handle that event anymore. The calc total method is what's set up to handle that button click event. Now you can just type all this stuff in the FXML file, but using Scene Builder is just an easier way to do it. And now I'm ready to modify this program.